Good evening, everyone. When the markets go down like this, do you know what I like to do? Grab an ice cold glass of milk. Really is delicious, calms you down. All right, market went down by 2.71%. NASDAQ's down 3.56%. Got some news throughout the day. First post from President Trump was that very strange things are happening in China. They're becoming very hostile, sending letters to countries throughout the world that they want to impose export controls on each and every element of production having to do with rare earths. And then, toward the end of the day, what really set it off was that President Trump sent a post saying, "It has just been learned that China has taken an extraordinary aggressive position on trade in sending an extremely hostile letter to the world, stating that they were going to, effective November 1st, 2025, impose large scale export controls on virtually every product they make and not even made by them. This affects all countries without exception and was obviously a plan devised by them years ago. It is absolutely unheard of in international trade and a moral disgrace in dealing with other nations." He then went on to say that based on the fact that China has taken this unprecedented position and speaking only for the USA and not other nations who are similarly threatened starting November 1st and or sooner, the United States of America will impose a tariff of 100% on China over and above any tariff that they are currently paying. All right. So China sends a letter out saying November 1st. President Trump responds 100% tariff on China as of November 1st. My raw thoughts on this: I'm not freaking out. The markets were doing pretty well this morning. And then all of a sudden, took a downturn. After hours, took a bigger downturn. And then during the conference or the live stream that they did about pharmaceutical, during the Q&A, President Trump took some questions, some about China, and the way that he answered them, he said he'll still be going to the summit in South Korea, and he still plans on meeting with President Xi. Now, we'll see what happens. I think cooler heads are going to prevail. I think that this is posturing. I think that China wants to have the pricing power over materials that define the AI race because that's really where they have their strong suit. It's not in the models. It's not necessarily in the chips because Huawei is not nearly as good as NVIDIA from what I'm at least seeing. And President Trump wants leverage heading into an election year that's going to be built on manufacturing independence. And we know that he's made a big push with technology companies coming back to the US. And we know that these chips, you need rare earths. We know that a lot of things with these data centers, you need rare earths. And we know that in the future, rare earths is going to be the next big thing. It is going to be arguably as important as traditional energy sources. You can make an argument that they won't be. You can make an argument that they would. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but I think it's hard to argue that they are going to be a focal point and they are going to be important to the economy. So my opinion is if you can't stomach this type of volatility, maybe the stock market's not for you. Can't freak out on days like today because when you take a beat and you zoom out, over the past year, the market is still up over 10%. And if we look at where we were during the trade war back in April, we're still really far above it. I mean, the market closed, or the S&P closed, at 6,552.50. We bottomed just above 4,800. So even with today's correction, the market is still significantly higher than we were less than 6 months ago. When the pandemic happened, even though the money printers went on, you had a very big reversal. Every dip gets bought. The question is, how long is this going to last? I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know how long this is going to last. I'm certainly not freaking out because does this change anything for Q3 earnings, which are right around the corner? It does not. Q3 is already done. Q3 numbers are already solidified. Is this going to change anything with Q4? I don't know. I don't really think this is going to be applicable to a lot of companies. We'll see. What I do know is that we have midterms in 2026. And I do not think that President Trump wants to go into an election cycle with a bad economy and a stock market that's lackluster. So I do think that something's going to happen. I think we're going to get a reversal at some point. And remember, 2% down, 5% down in a market like this is healthy. Nothing goes straight up. And I think it's a lot easier to stomach these things when you're diversified. If you are very concentrated into one or two names that got hit today, you're probably feeling a lot of pain. But if you're diversified, you have S&P index funds, total market funds, maybe it's not as horrible as what some others are experiencing. But I think the more important thing is to look at the big picture and say, in a year from now, do I think the market is going to be higher than what it is today? Because when it comes to investing, investing is a long-term game. It's not a short-term game. Short-term game is for gamblers and traders. So if you're trading, volatility can make you a lot of money. That's not what I do. I'm not a trader. What I do, I long-term invest. I'm looking out at my positions. I'm looking at the market, and I'm buying. I mean, I bought a little bit more today. I'll be putting more money to work in the coming weeks. I can't predict how the market goes up and how it's going to come down. I can't predict what's going to happen on Monday. I do think that because we reversed in the after hours a little bit, that's going to take a little bit of pressure off Monday morning. And maybe the fears of how much we opened down on Monday have subsided. And who knows? President Trump could send some more posts out tonight or tomorrow or on Sunday. Anything is possible. But we've seen this happen before. A lot of people were freaking out during the trade war with all the tariffs back in April, and it turned out pretty good for us, for the market. So I think we got to give this a little bit of time to unfold, and let's see how it goes. Not too concerned about it at this point. There isn't enough information. So drink some milk, relax, have a good weekend, and I'll see you later.